The grand arena of Vashtara had never hosted a human before, and the crowd made sure everyone knew it. Rows of alien nobility, scaled, feathered, crystalline, luminous, packed the Colosseum's obsidian tiers, their collective murmur a wave of contempt rolling down toward the sand pit at the center. At the head of the royal box sat Princess Selene Vishkari, heir to the Vashtaran dominion, her violet eyes fixed on the lone figure standing in the arena below. Damian Reyes did not look like a warrior. He was average height, average build, wearing nothing but a simple gray combat suit that looked laughably thin compared to the ceremonial armor of the champions who usually fought here. He had no retinue, no weapon glowing with alien technology, no title. Just a man from a planet the Dominion had annexed 3 years ago, standing in a ring built for gods. This is the great threat the humans sent us. Selene's voice carried through the arena, amplified by the crystal resonators built into her throne. She laughed, and 1,000 nobles laughed with her. I was told humans were dangerous. I see now that was Dominion propaganda to justify the cost of your conquest. Damian said nothing. He rolled his shoulders and looked up at her with an expression that wasn't quite anger and wasn't quite calm, something colder than both. Do you know why you're here, human? Selene continued, rising from her throne, her silver gown trailing like liquid starlight behind her. Every year, Vashtara chooses a champion from among our conquered worlds to test against our best. It is tradition. It is also, she smiled, sharp and cruel, entertainment. You were chosen because your species has caused the most trouble for the Dominion's supply lines. Insurgencies, sabotage, little pinpricks that annoy my father. She gestured to the 3 figures now entering the arena from the opposite gate, towering Kryvex warriors, their chitinous exoskeletons humming with kinetic dampeners, each 9 feet of muscle and blade. So my father decided to make an example. Beat all 3 of my champions, human, and I will grant you anything within my power. Lose, and your entire settlement on the eastern continent will be relocated to the mines of Draggers Reach. Forever. The crowd roared its approval. Selene leaned forward, elbows on the railing, chin resting on her hands, savoring what she assumed would be a brief and satisfying massacre. Anything, Damian repeated, his voice flat but carrying. You're sure about that word, princess? Something in his tone made her smile falter, just slightly. I am a woman of my word. Unlike your species, apparently. Good. Damian cracked his neck. Because when I win, I want you. Not gold. Not my people's freedom, though I expect that too. I want you as my wife. Forever. In front of every noble in this arena, sworn on whatever your people swear on. The laughter that followed was deafening. Selene's own laugh was the loudest, thrown back with her head tilted to the sky. You want to marry me? A human wants to marry the crown princess of Vashtara. She wiped a tear of amusement from her eye. Fine. Amuse me. If you somehow survive my champions, I will marry you, human, and you can spend eternity explaining to your grandchildren how you once believed you could win. Deal, Damian said. Say it so the whole arena hears it. A binding oath. Your people take those seriously, don't they? Selene's pride wouldn't let her back down in front of her own court. She stood, raised her hand, and spoke the ancient words of a Vashtaran oath, words that had not been spoken carelessly in centuries, words that bound the speaker's honor to the outcome of a contest. The crystal resonators carried every syllable to the farthest seat in the Colosseum. When she finished, a murmur of unease rippled through the older nobles, the ones who understood exactly what she had just done. Selene didn't notice. She sat back down, certain the wager was academic. The horn sounded. The first Kryvex warrior charged, its blade arm arcing down in a strike meant to end the fight in one blow. Damian didn't dodge with the frantic scramble the crowd expected. He stepped, one precise pivot, and the blade cut air where his shoulder had been a heartbeat before. His hand closed around the warrior's wrist as it passed, and he used the creature's own momentum to send it crashing into the arena wall hard enough to crack the reinforced stone. The crowd's laughter stuttered. The second warrior came in low, sweeping for his legs. Damian planted, absorbed the strike on a braced forearm that should have shattered under a Kryvex's kinetic-dampened strength, and answered with a single strike to the joint at the base of the creature's neck, a spot Damian had clearly studied, clearly knew. clearly had been given intelligence on long before he ever stepped into this arena. The warrior went down and did not get up. Celine's smile had vanished entirely now. She leaned forward, hands gripping the railing. The third warrior, the largest, hesitated. Damien didn't give it the chance to reconsider. He closed the distance himself, faster than anything without powered armor should move, and the fight ended in 11 seconds with a technique that looked less like combat and more like a demonstration. Efficient, economical, almost gentle in how completely it removed the threat. Silence fell over the grand arena of Vashtara for the first time in its history. Damien stood in the center of the sand, breathing steady, not a mark on him. 3 of the Dominion's finest warriors unconscious or worse around him. He looked up at the royal box, at Celine, whose violet eyes were wide with something that had replaced contempt entirely. Humans have spent 3 years under Dominion boots, Damien said, his voice carrying easily now that the crowd had gone quiet enough to hear it. 3 years of your soldiers thinking we were soft because we don't have exoskeletons or plasma veins. What you called sabotage, princess, was reconnaissance. What you called insurgency was training. Every strike your father called a pinprick was us learning exactly how your champions move, exactly where they're weak, exactly what it would take to walk into your arena and win without breaking a sweat. He gestured at the fallen Kryvex. This wasn't a fight. This was a demonstration for every world still deciding whether to keep bowing to you. Murmurs spread through the tiers, not laughter now, but something closer to fear, and in some corners, quiet awe. Celine rose slowly from her throne, her hand still gripping the railing. Around her, the older nobles were already whispering about the binding oath, about what it meant, about the fact that a princess of Vashtara had just sworn herself to a human in front of the entire court. You planned this, she said, quieter now, meant only for him, but carried anyway by the resonators. From the beginning. You knew I would take the wager because I'd never imagined losing. I knew you'd never imagine losing, Damien agreed. Pride's a weakness, princess. Should have asked your generals why humans kept surviving encounters they were supposed to lose. She stared down at him for a long moment. 3 warriors broken at his feet, an oath binding her voice still echoing faintly off the arena's high walls. Something in her expression shifted, the contempt burned away, and underneath it was something far more dangerous to the Dominion's comfortable assumptions. Respect, however unwilling. An oath, she finally said, is an oath. She descended the steps from the royal box, her silver gown catching the arena lights. Every noble in the Colosseum watching their princess walk toward the human who had just rewritten everything they believed about his species. You have won, Damien of Earth. I am yours, as sworn, forever. A faint, reluctant smile touched her mouth. Though I suspect you're going to be a great deal more trouble than 3 Kryvex warriors combined. Probably, Damien said, and for the first time he smiled too. Humanity usually is. Behind them, word was already spreading beyond the arena walls, out through the Dominion's channels, out to every conquered world listening, that a human had stood alone against Vashtara's champions and had not just survived, but won. And somewhere in the vast dark between stars, on a small blue planet that had spent 3 years being underestimated, humanity's next chapter had just begun.